Hey there viewers, what is up and welcome back to another episode of the Flipside. In this episode we are ditching FL Studio for a little while to go work in Native Instruments' Maschine. And in this episode we are going to be breaking down a sampled Drake type trap beat. And that beat sounds a little bit like this. Okay, so in this episode of the Flipside we are breaking down a sampled Drake type trap beat. Wow, that's a mouthful. And this beat we made in Maschine from Native Instruments. Now, I've been a Maschine user for over a year. I really enjoy working in Maschine. You know, it's intuitive, it makes sense, it's easy, it's accessible. And you know, who didn't imagine themselves, you know, hitting the drum pads in the studio while working on some fire beat, right? So anyways, let's cut the shit. Let's get right into the beat. Okay, so let's get into the sample. First of all, I just want to say you may have noticed we're using a different angle today. That is mostly because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing on Maschine. This is Maschine Mark III, Maschine Mark III. The viewers, unfortunately, that also means you'll be able to see how much beaten and battered my office chair is. So I'm really sorry about that. So without further ado, we are going to get into the sample. Now the sample that I have here, let me just delete the slices. Is a song called Night Idyll, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, by the London Studio Orchestra, which is a pretty well-known ensemble, orchestra actually, and it sounds a little bit like this. So what we are going to do this exact moment is just chop that motherfucker up. Boom, and that gives us 12 nice, neat chops. You may have noticed there were some minor tempo switches, you know, some slowdowns. So I tried to actually follow the strings, which I assume is a harp, you know, playing in the background while, you know, the flute took the foreground. I actually used those strings to determine, okay, this is a new bar, you know, this is a switch and stuff like that. So what we're going to do now is park those 12 slices into a group. You can see here on the screen that I've already named the group, and I'll be honest with you, I'm working in a version of this tutorial I'm working in a version of this beat that is specifically made for this tutorial, so I have everything selected and named already. But we are placing this into the group called sample. And what we have to do now is make sure that when I play all of those samples, that they don't overlap. So that is, you know, simply circumvented by first selecting all of your slices like this. So you hit the all button on the top right of the top left of the right screen. And then you go to pad mode and then you assign them to a choke group. So they're one specific group that doesn't interact with the other things. Then you go to sound, you go to the polyphony button, then you set it to 1. So you essentially reduce the polyphony to 1. And you know, when the polyphony is set to 1, it essentially means there's only one voice. So that is monophony. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. I'm not a native English speaker, but it essentially means one voice at a time, no overlap. So with that being said, let's play the slices that we have now. Okay, I forgot to turn my mic off, so you may hear a little bit of background noise. So essentially those are the first 4 slices, and what I usually do when I have the thing sliced up is I start playing around with the slices, see if I can concoct the melody, you know, something that sounds dope and that sticks and that's, you know, has like a logical beginning, a logical progression, and a logical ending. So when I sample, I try to think in phrases. So I want a beginning phrase that goes up and a ending phrase that goes down and transitions nicely into the beginning phrase again. So I started playing around and I eventually got this. Okay, so that sounded dope, but there was a little bit, I was, doubting the pitch and see. I was curious to see if there was anything else I could do with that. So I went back to the sound. I started pitching it up and down until I finally got something that stuck. And the pitch that I landed on, it changed the sample so significantly. To me, it immediately got this mafioso feel. That some rugged, gangster, ominous, sinister mafioso feel. And that sounded kind of like this. And honestly, that immediately gave me the chills. And that's when I knew this is it, Chief. I called Chief. I told him, yo, is this it? Chief didn't respond. Called me back in 5 minutes. Chief said, this is it. This is it. So after that, I started playing around with the slices, make sure that they had the timing that I had in mind, because some slices took a while to get to the point where I thought they fit into the melody. So there was me playing around. I think there's a few particular slices that I needed to correct, so I'm gonna just do that right away. Now with all the slices, cut nicely, making sure that they all fit the melodies that I had in mind, it was time to start arranging them, into patterns. So that's what I'm gonna do right away. I'm gonna spare you all of that because in the next part, we are going straight into the drums. Okay, so we lay down the pattern for our sample. We have 3 different patterns, one pattern, 2 variations. We are gonna go straight into 808 and the drums, of course. But first, I would like to play you what I've got up until now. And that sounds a little bit like... To me, that sounds dark, sinister, ominous, menacing. I call this beat "The Hand That Feeds You" because Drake is a rapper who has fired shots at people who he considered unthankful, ungrateful, snakes who try to come up with him. And this beat symbolizes him just sitting at that table, lashing out at everybody. So I'm giving this example just to show you that when people create type beats, that's usually what happens after that or during the process when all is said and done, when the mood has already been set. We are not trying to, we are not sitting there telling ourselves, let's make a Drake type beat. No, we make the beat, we chop the sample, we put down the chords, and then we decide, okay, this is the feeling I get from there. It would definitely fit this artist. Okay, so, enough of all of that. Let's go into the 808s. All right, so the 808 used as a bass line, the staple of all trap beats, and of course, I could not leave it out of this beat. So, without further ado, I'm gonna just play you the 808 pattern that I had in mind. Now, keep in mind, I have 3 different sample patterns, and I thought that the 808 pattern that I played had to be unique for each and every pattern. So I'm not gonna record it right away, but I'm just gonna play you what I had in mind for the 808 pattern, and then I'm gonna just arrange it per which goes with pattern 1, which one goes with pattern 2, and which one goes with pattern 3. All right. Okay, so I hope you were able to hear that properly. Now what we're gonna do, of course, is lay it down under each pattern and see where it fits the best. So let's get into that right away. Okay, took a little while to get it right, but we now have 4 solid 808 patterns, which gives us a solid basis for our beat. Now, the logical step from here is, of course, to lay down the kick drum, lay down the clap and the hats, and after that, we are gonna add some additional elements to complete the beat, Kicks, claps, and hi-hats, these are the elements that comprise the perfect drum beat. I actually wanted to do like a reference to the Powerpuff Girls intro, but I completely forgot how it went, so whatever the fuck. But kicks, drums, and hi-hats. Now, the sound selection is as followed. I layered 2 kicks. The third one is actually, I don't know what that is. It's just randomly there. I didn't delete it. But I layered 2 kicks on top of each other, and that got me this. Packs quite a punch. Clap, relatively simple clap. And what you can see here is that I have 4 different hi-hats at different volumes and different pitches. Because I wanted to do, of course, the hi-hat rolls, and I thought it was very interesting to just, play with different pitches in the hi-hat rolls, just to offset that, monotonous sounded hi-hat rolls may have from time to time. So that's it. That's it for introductions. Let's just start laying these things on top of the beat, on top of the sample. Okay, so that wraps up the clap, that wraps up the kick. What I'm gonna do now is hi-hat rolls. They may take a little bit of time. What I did with the hi-hat rolls is that I have 4 different hi-hats, so I played full patterns for each of them, and then I started cutting away until I had a hi-hat pattern left. So I'm gonna just start recording, and whatever I like sticks. And then I'm gonna set the other to mute, and then I'm gonna record a new pattern, but with different notes. Because what you can do, you can use the note repeat on Maschine, which automatically just repeats notes for you over and over. But you can set it to quarter notes, 8 notes, 16th note, 32nd note, 64th notes, and you can have them play normally or dotted or triplets. So I'm gonna use that to my advantage, of course. And that is already starting to sound like a dope ass beat. So what we have to do from here is start adding the vocal samples and the drum break, just to add a little bit of variation. In other words, we are gonna add some seasoning to the beat. We're gonna add some seasoning. Okay, so the last step in the process of making this beat, which is the seasoning, which is when we add the flavor, which is, when we add the elements that'll have the listener, the artist, the engineer saying, yo, this is a dope ass beat. I like the mood, I like the taste, whatever. Seasoning. So I went ahead and I started seasoning just a little bit. Let me just play you what I got. I seasoned it by adding a drum break. I haven't added a sample yet. Let me do that right away. And let me just play you what I got. Boom. And what I also added in terms of seasoning is a dope ass vocal chop that you see here in scene 4. Okay, so we added that vocal chop, and I'm just falling in love with this beat all over again. And I'm pretty happy that I'm doing this, the Flipside, making beats, because at times on off days you think that your beats suck, you think that you're not as good as a producer. So when I look back at the process, and that's actually the key takeaway, I look back at the process of making these beats and I'm like, yo, I actually put a lot of deliberate effort into the beat. Everything I added to this composition has a purpose, plays a significant role. It adds to it. It doesn't take away from it. It doesn't distract, it just adds to it. It creates this beautiful canvas, and that's why I love producing. That's why I love beat making. Anyways, the seasoning. The seasoning at this point comes in the form of adding some perks and adding perks. That's basically it. We're adding perks and a little bit and some sound bites here and there, possibly. So let's start doing that. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we added our vocal chops, we added our drum break, we completed the arrangement, we added our perks. So that completes this sampled Drake type beat. Okay, so that concludes the beat breakdown and our video. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. But if you don't, let me repeat it for you. Please leave a comment, like this video, sub to my channel, and feel free to follow me on all the other social channels that are appearing in the video or in the video description. And I'm gonna catch y'all on the flip side. Peace.